The 100 most famous people and historical figures in history, ranked by their popularity. The full list in under 12 minutes. Like and subscribe for the next part. Chairman of the Communist Party, Mao Zedong. Confederate General and KKK Grand Wizard, Nathan Bedford Forrest. 46th U.S. President, Vice President and Senator, Joe Biden. American actor, Dustin Hoffman. Archduke of Austria, Franz Ferdinand. Cambodian dictator and revolutionary, Pol Pot. American inventor, Alexander Graham Bell. American comedian and actress, Phyllis Diller. And finally, for this episode, Canadian singer-songwriter, Gordon Lightfoot. George Eliot, English novelist, poet, journalist, translator, and one of the leading writers of the Victorian era. Adam Clayton Powell Jr., first African-American congressman from New York, and would hold this office for close to 3 decades. James Cook, British explorer, navigator, and cartographer who achieved the first recorded European contact with the eastern coastline of Australia and the Hawaiian Islands. German-American businessman, John Jacob Astor, first multimillionaire in the United States as a fur trade mogul. French explorer, Jacques Cartier, explored and claimed what is now Canada for France. And finally, for this episode, Selma Lagerlöf, a Swedish author who achieved worldwide acclaim for her writing, making significant contributions to Swedish literature. Queen Victoria of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, from 20th of June 1837, until her death in 1901. American aviator, Orville Wright, together with his brother Wilbur Wright, revolutionized transportation with the invention of the airplane. Martin Luther King Jr., the most visible and well-known leader of the American civil rights movement. King of Saudi Arabia, Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud. American R&B singer-songwriter Ciara Princess Harris, also known as Ciara. Nicolae Ceausescu was the head of the Romanian state, from 1965 to 1989, before he was toppled with the fall of the Iron Curtain. And finally, for this episode, physicist and Nobel laureate, John William Strutt. Theoretical physicist, Albert Einstein, one of the most renowned scientists in history. American oil industrialist, John D. Rockefeller, known primarily as a co-founder of Standard Oil Company. Roman military commander and statesman, Julius Caesar. King of the United Kingdom, Charles Philip Arthur George, eldest child and heir apparent of Queen Elizabeth II. Scottish-American industrialist, Andrew Carnegie, led the expansion of the American steel industry during the late 19th century. British scientist, inventor, and photography pioneer, William Henry Fox Talbot. And finally, for this episode, Robin Rihanna Fenty, also known as Rihanna. Singer-songwriter and rapper, Kendrick Lamar, with 2 Grammy Awards, and in 2018 became the first rapper to win the Pulitzer Prize for music for his album Damn. German actress and singer, Marlene Dietrich, awarded the Medal of Freedom, the highest civilian honor in the United States, for her wartime work. Swedish climate activist, Greta Thunberg, became heavily involved in climate change activism at age 15. Martin Bormann served as Adolf Hitler's private secretary and head of the party chancellery. King of France, Louis XVI, directly contributed to the outbreak of revolution in 1789. And finally, for this episode, English singer-songwriter, George Harrison, famous as the lead guitarist of the Beatles. First African-American and 44th President of the United States, Barack Obama. English musician and Beatle, Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, Paul McCartney. The first female pilot to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean, American aviator, Amelia Earhart. Leader of the abolitionist movement in the American Northeast, most famous for his oratory and writing, Frederick Douglass. Running a corrupt and undemocratic government, Ferdinand Marcos, 10th President of the Philippines. One of Great Britain's greatest war heroes, Horatio Nelson. And finally, for this episode, leading contemporary artist in American popular culture, and singer-songwriter, Taylor Swift. Martial artist and actor, Lee Ewan Kam, also known as Bruce Lee. King of England, Scotland and Ireland from 1660 until his death in 1685, Charles II. Seminal figure in American comedy, best known as the leader of the Three Stooges, Moe Howard. Widely considered the greatest basketball player of all, joined the Chicago Bulls in 1984, Michael Jordan. Ottoman Sultan, who succeeded his father to the throne in 1520, Suleiman the Magnificent. American seamstress, credited with creating the first American flag, Betsy Ross. And finally, for this episode, passenger on United Airlines Flight 93, Todd Beamer. American engineer and inventor widely credited with developing the first commercially successful steamboat, Robert Fulton. Hungarian-American actor who gained fame for his portrayal of Count Dracula in the 1931 film Dracula, Bela Lugosi. Wife of Prince Charles from 1981 until their divorce in 1996, Princess of Wales, Diana Spencer. King of Sweden from 1771 until his assassination in 1792, Gustav III. Widely considered the greatest baseball player of all time, George Herman Ruth, Jr., also known as Babe Ruth. And finally, the first mammal cloned from an adult somatic cell, Dolly the sheep. Supreme leader and dictator of North Korea, Kim Jong-un. American actress whose career has spanned over 4 decades, Kathy Moriarty. British Army officer and colonial administrator, Charles Cornwallis. Marxist revolutionary and Soviet leader, Vladimir Lenin. American actress, singer, and dancer, Ginger Rogers. Cristiano Ronaldo, Portuguese football star. 37th U.S. President, Richard Nixon. French fashion designer, Gabrielle Chanel, also known as Coco Chanel. And finally, for this episode, American gangster, also known by the nickname, Scarface, Alphonse Gabriel Capone, also known as Al Capone. Portuguese explorer, best known for leading the first expedition to circumnavigate the Earth, Ferdinand Magellan. Iraqi president and dictator, Saddam Hussein. First victim of Jack the Ripper, Mary Ann Nichols. English playwright, often named the greatest writer in the English language, and the world's greatest dramatist, William Shakespeare. One of the most successful and popular entertainers in music history, American King of Pop, Michael Jackson. American actress, model, and singer who became a major sex symbol of her age, Norma Jean Mortensen, also known as Marilyn Monroe. And finally, for this episode, English military and political leader, Oliver Cromwell. One of the most powerful financiers in the American Midwest, Cyrus Eaton. American abolitionist and women's rights advocate, Isabella Baumfree, also known as Sojourner Truth. One of the most significant cultural icons of the 20th century, helped establish the emerging rock and roll sound, incorporating blues and gospel influences, Elvis Presley. 32nd U.S. President, Franklin D. Roosevelt. American actress and wife of Beatle, Ringo Starr, Barbara Bach. The father of modern science, Italian astronomer and physicist, Galileo Galilei. And finally, for this episode, American rapper who revolutionized hip-hop in Middle America, Marshall Bruce Mathers, also known as Emmy. Born in May 12, 1956, American fictional TV character Homer Simpson. British Prime Minister, Winston Leonard Spencer Churchill. Founding member of the Beatles, John Lennon. Dutch and Spanish, Holy Roman Emperor, Charles V. Regarded as one of the great American presidents, Abraham Lincoln. 34th U.S. President and World War II General, Dwight Eisenhower. Prolific inventor, whose discoveries changed life forever and ushered in the electric age, Thomas Edison. Queen of England and Ireland, she was last monarch of the House of Tudor and was known as the Virgin Queen, Elizabeth I. And finally, for this episode, 35th U.S. President, John F. Kennedy. His presidency has been involved in numerous controversies. 45th U.S. President, Donald Trump. Italian explorer of the New World, who died at the age of only 54, Christopher Columbus. The longest-lived and longest-reigning monarch in British history, Queen of the United Kingdom, Elizabeth II. King of England, Scotland, and Ireland from the 27th of March 1625 until his execution in 1649, Charles Stuart as Charles I. Inventor, entrepreneur and businessman, co-founded Apple Computer from his parents' garage in 1976. Steve Jobs came to prominence after Vladimir Lenin's death. Soviet General Secretary, Joseph Stalin, one of the main leaders of the Axis powers during World War II, and founded the Italian Fascist Party. Italian dictator, Benito Mussolini. Leader of the non-violent civil disobedience campaign against British rule in India. Pacifist and spiritual leader, Mahatma Gandhi. Often titled the father of the country, commander of the Continental Army during the American Revolution, first president of the United States, George Washington. One of the most controversial, influential and celebrated figures in human history, French Emperor, Napoleon Bonaparte. Second Tudor monarch after his father, Henry VII, King of England, Henry VIII. And finally, Austrian-born German politician who was the dictator of Germany, Adolf Hitler.